Hello everyone, Tracy Sizemore, writer and publisher of the Han Cluster Sci-Fi RPG, here to answer your deep dive questions. What is the Draxel Communication Network? The answer to this question has three parts: the spoiler-free part, the spoilers part, and the deep spoilers part. I'm going to give you all three, so you can decide whether you want to hear all three as you go through the video. But if you don't want to know and want to sort of discover some of this stuff for yourself as you're playing the Han Cluster or playing the Transcendence Plot Point campaign, you might want to tread carefully as we go deeper into the answer. So here's the spoiler-free answer. We'll start with the Draxel. The Draxel is a tiny little wafer, smaller than the tip of a finger, that is usually implanted in the hip area of people in the Han Cluster. 99.99% of people in the Han Cluster have a Draxel. The Draxel kind of acts as a lens that focuses your own connection to the next. Like any linked being has a connection to the next, whether you're a linked machine or a person, a human. And your Draxel acts as a lens that focuses your connection to the next toward something else. And that something else is the second part of the Draxel Communication Network, which is the Draxel Relay. A Draxel Relay is a satellite. It orbits a planet central in the Han Cluster. There's another one, a duplicate one, a redundant one, that orbits Neptune in the Sol system. Those Draxel Relays act as a central hub for the tiny bits of connection that each Draxel in human space is sending to them. And through that connection, there are multiple things happening. One is Draxels act as your interstellar cell phones. They basically allow you to communicate individually with point-to-point communication between somebody else with a Draxel, no matter where you are, no matter how far apart you are, it doesn't matter. And it happens in real time. So if you're on a planet and the person you're talking to is on another planet, you're talking in real time just as if you were on a phone call, like talking out loud to them. There are limitations in that it is point-to-point only. You can only contact somebody with a Draxel, and you can only contact that particular individual. There are no party lines for Draxel communications, for example. The other thing the Draxel Communication Network provides is a connection to your monetary accounts. So there's a decentralized monetary system now in human space based off the Draxel Communication Network. That's true of Earth, that's true of the Han Cluster. It's all the same system. And it's decentralized, so nobody has real control over it. It just sort of is. It exists in the DCN. The other thing that Draxels can do, independent of the DCN, is carry X gear. We're going to cover X gear in a whole nother video, and of course you can read about it in the book, or you can look at the Life in the Han Cluster videos to find out more. So as far as how the Draxel Communication Network actually works, no one living in the Han Cluster actually knows. It was developed by a genius named Karina Lutz almost 200 years ago, and Karina Lutz is a fascinating character that is explored a little bit in the Transcendence Plot Point campaign and in the Han Cluster book, and I would like to explore her a little bit more on my own with maybe some books or something so that I can sort of, just for my own edification, understand where Karina is coming from and sort of what made her who she is. She was incidentally considered the first Next architect. Again, we'll talk about that later. Now, we're going to get to the spoilers answer of what the DCN is. So watch out. The Draxel Communication Network does more and has more potential than its public face indicates. This is hinted at with an arcane background in the setting called the Draxel Tapper. Draxel Tappers are unique individuals who have a sort of innate sense of what the Draxel Communication Network can do, and they're able to basically hack into it. The DCN is self-correcting, meaning that any hacks or backdoors that a Draxel Tapper might happen to create get closed automatically as the DCN sort of maintains a status quo of how it's supposed to act. But some of the things that Draxel Tappers can do include spying on people through their Draxels, locating people by their Draxels, creating feedback loops in their Draxels, and a few other little tricks. Again, this can only happen temporarily, and Draxel tappers are a special breed, so there's not very many of them who can do this. This is not like hacking into a computer. This is something much more intuitive than that. These powers suggest that the DCN could be used for something more than it was originally designed for. It could be that Karina Lutz knew about this stuff and actively decided to try to discourage it. She could have been completely unaware of what the DCN was capable of. In some cases, that might be true, but then we're getting into the deep spoilers of the DCN. Really, seriously, watch out. If you want to play the Transcendence Plot Point campaign or play the Han cluster without knowing and being able to discover some of this stuff, don't listen to the next part of the video. If you don't mind having spoilers, or if you want to be a GM of the Han cluster, then feel free to listen all you want. Here comes the deep spoiler answer. The Draxel Communication Network is responsible in part for the existence of linked machines. Linked robots all rely on the Draxel communication for their link to the next. That is in part due to the DCN itself, its sort of conglomeration of human connection into a specified point, but also because of manufacturing techniques and new developments over the last 600 years that have created the kind of robots that are capable of linking to the next. More about that is in the books. No one in the setting knows this. It could be that some people suspect it, but it's so outlandish that there's no way to prove it, and there's no popular opinion about it. It could come to light during the Transcendence Plot Point campaign. Not necessarily will come to light, but it could. In any case, because each human has a little bit of connection to the DCN through their Draxel, and 99.99% of humans are connected to the DCN, they've had a huge influence on linked machines, their culture, their way of living. In almost every sense that matters, linked robots are truly the children of humanity. Humans are not only responsible for their manufacture, but for their formative cultural development. It's why linked machines tend to be so human-like in their reactions, their understanding, their interactions in human space. If the DCN were to go down for some reason, linked machine consciousness would cease to exist. Deep spoiler, that could happen in the Transcendence Plot Point campaign. Could all those who are lost be brought back? Maybe. Overall, the DCN plays a pivotal and critical role in all the lives of human space. It's the kind of thing that most of those who use it take for granted, but is nevertheless critical to the livelihoods, connectivity, and day-to-day interactions of tens of billions of linked beings. Well, that's all for this week. I'll talk to you next time.